Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype online. Each one of you is welcomed to this live streaming. Going within. Truth appears only in non-believing intelligence. We are all infested. I use the word, a strong word, infested with belief systems. Intelligence, it only in non-believing intelligence, truth ever appears. Enlightenment always happens through surrender, and to attain to the state of surrender you require intelligence. Idiots cannot surrender. To surrender you need tremendous, great intelligence. To see the point of surrender is the climax of insight, climax of intelligence, climax of in-search, not research. To see the point that you are not separate from the existence is the highest intelligence. To see that you are part of this synergistic harmony that we call as existence, you are not aliens, nor as a strangers join. You are bound to each other by a causeless force, and that is the peak of intelligence. To see that you are not separate from the existence is the highest intelligence. There is no conflict between intelligence and surrender. Intelligence happens through surrender, and both intelligence and surrender are two sides of the same coin. We know, as far as our intelligence is concerned, there are only two sides of a coin. But there is yet another side of the coin. And what is that side? That is the rim of the coin. We overlook the rim. And rim is the transcendence. Surrender is through intelligence, although when you surrender, intelligence is also surrendered. Intelligence is also surrendered. Seeing the futility of itself, seeing the absurdity of itself, seeing the anguish that it creates, it disappears. The anguish that surrender creates disappears. But it happens only through intelligence. And specifically in concern with an awakened one, with Buddha, the path is of intelligence. Your intelligence reaches to such a peak. That's where your in-search begins, your inward journey begins. And what Buddha means, what awakened one means, not the one who knows the scriptures by heart, not the one who can sing, who can chant. Awakened one means highest level of awakened intelligence. You have heard about intelligence, but this is a new word. Awakened intelligence. When your intelligence, when it reaches the peak, when the flower attains the fullness, its petal begins to open. And as the petals begin to open, the beauty and fragrance becomes its aura. So when your intelligence reaches a level, when it will start opening its petals, the flower of intelligence begin to blossom. This is awakened intelligence. You can call it enlightenment. In the Heart Sutra that we are coming to an end, 1/4 of the words that are used mean intelligence. 1/4 of the words that are used mean intelligence. The word Buddha does not mean a person who was born 25 centuries ago in India. Buddha means awake. Bodhi means awakening. And Sambodhi, another word that means perfect awakening. And Abhisambuddha means one who is fully awake. And another word is used, Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva means one who is ready to become fully awake. And all these words, Buddha, Bodhi, Sambodhi, Abhisambuddha and Bodhisattva go back to the root Buddh. Buddh means intelligence. The word Buddhi is the Hindi word for intellect, also comes from the same root. This word Buddh or intelligence has many dimensions to it. There is no single English word that can encompass the meaning that this word Buddh carries in its womb. It has many implications. It is fluid-like, very poetic. It is said, Heraclitus said, you can never enter the same river twice, because river is a flow. It is constantly flowing, and you are fluid. You are consciousness that is constantly changing every moment. But I say to you, you cannot enter the river even once. Because by the time you are ready to enter the river, you are not the same. The river is not the same. It is not on a horizontal plane. The awakened intelligence means you understand that you cannot enter the river even once. You cannot meet me ever. By the time the thought comes of meeting, You have changed. You have flowed. And you are constantly flowing. And I am constantly flowing. That's why one of my compositions says, meeting is a moment's ecstasy. A moment's ecstasy happens in a precise moment when you are in that void, zero. No other language does any word like Buddha with so many meanings. There are at least 5 meanings given to this word. What are the 5 meanings of the word Buddha? The first is to awake. To awake. To wake up oneself up. To wake up oneself up. Waking the other, waking yourself. To awaken others. To be awake. As such, it is opposed to being asleep. It is in the slumber of delusion from which enlightenment awakens like a dream. It is the first meaning of intelligence, Buddha, to create an awakening in you. It is opposed to being asleep in the slumber of, out of the slumber of delusion. Enlightenment awakens as from a dream. Ordinarily, man is asleep. Even while you think you are awake, but you are not. Walking on the road, you are fully awake. In your mind, you looked, but look at from the vision of a Buddha. We are sleepwalkers. You are fast asleep because 1,001 dreams and thoughts are clamoring inside you. Your inner light is beclouded. Because of that, the dark energy that helps to blossom, that helps to burst forth the seed, that helps the interaction of ovum and sperm to go through the process of evolution, happens in darkness. Hindus have the concept of Kali, means the darkness, the dark goddess. It is symbolic. Darkness, Kali, is the feminine aspect of time. It comes from the word Kal, means time. And one of the name in Navaratri, the 9 forms of Durga, is Kal Ratri. When the destruction, all that is obstructing the flow of consciousness is destroyed. It was the outer shell of the seed that was blocking the inner zero to open. It is the darkness. It is the dark energy that burst open that outer shell, destroys the outer shell, breaks into two components. The zero appears, that is hidden within the seed, and the process of the journey of the seed begins through various stages. Some growth takes place within the womb of the earth that provides the dark cave of meditation, and then first growth happens in the darkness through dark energy. Then the photon, the light begins to look. When you look that you are walking on the road, you are waking, but look at it from the vision of a Buddha. You are fast asleep because 1,001 dreams and thoughts are clamoring inside you. Your inner light is beclouded. It is a kind of sleep. The sleep is when the dark energy is not available to initiate the process of growth in you. It is a kind of sleep. Yes, your eyes are open, obviously, but people can walk in dreams, in sleep, with eyes open. And Buddha says, you are walking in sleep with eyes open. Buddha is speaking of inner eyes, but your inner eye is not yet open. You do not know yet who you are. You have not looked into the reality that you are. You are that emptiness. You are that synergistic harmony. You are part of the existence. Just as the plants, the river, the mountains, everything is part of the existence. And this, from time to time, existence creates the situation individually for you and en masse for humanity, for people to realize. Those who are connected with awakened intelligence, for them any calamity becomes a passage for transformation. For others to perish at the level at which they are operating now, to resurrect and reborn. You are not awake. A mind full of thought cannot be awake. A mind which has dropped thoughts, emotions, thinking, which has disappeared, which has dispersed all the clouds, the inner sky is clear, the rays of the sun is penetrating through, the skies, inner sky is utterly empty of clouds, is the mind which has intelligence, is the mind which is awake, is the intelligence that Buddha is speaking of. Awakened intelligence. Intelligence is the capacity to be in the present moment, in now. The more you are in the past, the more you are in the future, you are less intelligent. Intelligence is the capacity to be here now, to be in this moment and nowhere else. only then you are awake. This is why to be around an awakened one is like having a sword hanging around your neck. You are sitting in the house and the house catches fire. Your life is in danger. Then for a moment you will be awake. In that moment you will not think anything of the past, of the future. In that moment you will forget the past. In that moment you will not be clamoring with your psychological memories that you have loved a woman or a man 30 years back. The boy, it was good. The other day you had been to a Chinese restaurant and still the taste lingers on, the aroma, the smell of the food, the cooked bread. But would you entertain any of these thoughts then? No, when your house is on fire. You cannot afford any kind of thinking. Suddenly you will rush to this moment. The house is on fire. Your life is at stake. You will not dream about future, about what is going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow is no longer relevant. Yesterday too is no longer relevant. Even today is no longer relevant. Only this very moment, this split of a moment, very precise moment, that is the first meaning of the word Buddha, intelligence. That is why I said you cannot enter the river even once. You cannot meet someone, specifically an awakened one, with your current level of intelligence even once. And then there are great insights. A man who really wants to be awake, wants really to be awakened, has to first live each moment in such intensity. As you live on, you live only rarely in that level of intelligence in certain moments of danger. Certain moments of danger. The first meaning is opposite to sleep. And naturally, you can see the reality only when you are not asleep. You can face it. You can look into the eyes of truth. You can call it God or give it another name. But only when you are awake. Do you understand the point of intensity? The point of being on fire? Utterly awake. There is insight. And this insight brings freedom. This insight brings truth. The second meaning of the word Buddha is to recognize. as to become aware of, acquainted with, to notice, to give attention, to give a heed to. And so a Buddha is the one who has recognized the false as false and has his eyes open to truth, to true as true. And when you see false as false, can you see what truth is? You cannot go on living in illusions. You cannot go on living in your belief systems. You cannot go on living in your prejudices that you want to know truth. The false has to be recognized as false. That is the second meaning of the word Buddha. Recognition of false as false, untrue as true. For example, you have believed in God. You were born as a Christian or a Hindu or a Mohammedan. You have been taught God exists, and you have been made afraid of God. That if you do not believe in God, you will suffer. You will be punished. That God is very furious. That God will never forgive you. The Jewish God says, I am a very jealous God. Worship only me and nobody else. Mohammedan God says the same thing. There is only one God and no other. There is only one prophet of God, Muhammad, and there is no other prophet. It also says there are some 124,000 to near about apostles, Paigambars have come on earth. This condition can go so deep in you that you can go on lingering even if you start disbelieving in God. A conditioning can go deep. I have heard Mullah Nasruddin became a communist. He became a comrade. So someone asked Mullah, what about God? Mullah very loudly said, there is no God. There is no God, and Muhammad is the only prophet. A conditioning can go so deep. Muhammad remains the prophet. You have been brought up to believe in God, and you have believed up to now. This is a belief whether God exists or not has nothing to do with your belief. Truth has nothing to do with your belief. Whether you believe or not makes no difference to truth. Truth is as is whether you believe in it or not. But if you believe in God, you will go on seeing, at least thinking that you see God. If you do not believe in God, that belief will prevent you from knowing. All beliefs prevent because belief becomes prejudice around you. It becomes a thought covering, what Buddha calls avaran, the layers. Just as you keep on covering something, the man of intelligence does not believe in anything, and at the same time he does not disbelieve in anything. He is simply open to recognize whatever is the case. If God is, he will recognize. But if according to his belief, he has whatever he will recognize is not because of his belief, because he has no belief. It is only in non-believing intelligence. It is only in non-believing intelligence truth appears for the first time. Only in non-believing intelligence truth appears for the first time. When you already believe, you do not allow truth any space. To come to you. Your prejudice is so enthroned, already enthroned. You cannot see something which goes against your belief system. This is what Hindus, this is what Christians, this is what Jews, this is what Muslims are. You become afraid. You become shaky. You start trembling within. You have put so much in your belief, so much life, so much time, so many prayers, 5 prayers per day. For 50 years a man has been devoted to his belief. Now suddenly how can you recognize the fact that there is no God? A man has put his whole life into communism, believing that there is no God. How can he come to see if God is there? He will go on avoiding. I am not saying anything about whether God is or not. What I am saying is something concerned with you. You can be transformed, and I am only interested in your transformation. A clear mind is needed, and intelligence is needed which does not cling to any belief. Then you are mirror-like. You reflect that which is. There is no dust that can distort the image. That is the second meaning of the word Buddha. An intelligent person is open. He cannot be a communist or a Catholic. An intelligent person does not believe, and at the same time he does not disbelieve. That is not his way. He looks into life, and whatsoever is there, he is ready to look into it. He has no barriers to his vision. His vision is transparent. Only those few people, only that rare person who has no barriers to his vision. Vision is transparent, can attain to truth. The third meaning of the word root, Buddha, intelligence, is to know, to understand. The Buddha knows that which is. He understands that which is. And in that very understanding, he is free from all bondages. To know in the sense to understand. To know in the sense of to understand, not in the sense of knowledgeability. Buddha is not knowledgeable. When I come in front of you, the things begin to overflow. An intelligent person does not care much about the information or knowledge. He cares much more for the capacity to know. His real, authentic interest is in knowing, not knowledge. Knowing is more profound and beautiful. Knowing gives you understanding. Knowledge gives you a feeling of understanding. There is a vast difference between the understanding and the feeling of understanding. Knowledge gives you a feeling of understanding without giving any real understanding. Knowledge is pseudo-coin, deceptive. It only gives you a feeling that you know. You can write books, you can have degrees, still you remain the same ignorant, stupid as you have always been. In 2009, I was invited to Harvard at a talk. And in that I said, the talk, we spend nearly 25 to 27 years of our precious youthful life in university campuses. When at the end we are given honors, degrees, and it is said, you have attained honors in this particular discipline, medicine, engineering, biophysics, or anything. You are ready to plunder the world. Have you ever asked at that moment, after spending 25 to 27 years of a precious life, do you have answers to the simple questions that life asks you on a day-to-day basis? How to transform your anger into a creative force. Does your university education teaches you that? That means there is something missing in our education system. And that which is missing is the awakened intelligence. With those degrees, those honors, do not change you even a single bit inwardly. They cannot change you. In fact, with those honors and degrees, your stupidity attains a new dimension. It gets stronger. It has the degrees. You can prove itself through this certificate. But when it comes to actually interacting or traversing through life's thoroughfare, these prove futile. It cannot prove in any way, other way, but it will carry degrees, certificates, recognitions from the society. People think you know, and you think you know. Have you not seen this happening? The people who are thought to be knowledgeable are as ignorant as anybody else, sometimes even more ignorant. It is rare to find intelligent people in the academic world, sometimes more ignorant. It is rare to find an intelligent person in the academic world. I have been part of the academic world, and I can speak on the basis of my own experience. I have seen intelligent farmers. My grandmother was not educated, but she was far more intelligent than the most learned professors of the university. She knew the answers to the simple question that life answers. Unless your education system shows you the way how your intelligence can function as you traverse through the life's roads, your education is incomplete. I have seen some intelligent woodcutters, but the same intelligence is not seen in a professor. I have heard a professor was trying to cross the river in a boat. The boatman was a poor man with no university degrees or anything. The professor started talking to him about the wisdom, intelligence, about knowledge. And the poor man said, I do not know anything. I never had the opportunity to read, to enter the university or education system. The boat was slowly and slowly sailing as the sailor was canoeing it. Same time, the boat got caught up in the area, I am not able to recollect the English word, where the water starts circling round and round. Bhavar is the Hindi word, or whirlpool. It started circling. The sailor said, Professor, the boat is caught in the whirlpool. It is constantly moving in circles. Use your wisdom, use your knowledge to save yourself. I am jumping because I know this river This river is my understanding. I understand it well, and I can save myself. Let your knowledge save you. One thing, why something has gone wrong with the people. One thing has gone wrong. They depend on knowledge. They need not become the knowers, but they trust their knowledge. They have found a second-hand way of knowledge. The first hand brings understanding, brings courage, brings knowing. This is what in search is. A Buddha has the first-hand experience of truth. The first-hand knowing, only a few can afford. The adventurers, people who go beyond the ordinary path, where crowd does not move. People who take small footpaths, thoroughfare, into the jungles of the unknowable. Danger is they may get lost. Risk is high. When you can get a second-hand knowledge easily, why bother about the first-hand knowledge? Instead of going to Mount Hir to be in communion with God, you would take the Quran and hifz it, memorize it. You can just sit in your chair, or you can go to the university library, can collect information, make your notes. You can carry a big pile of information and sit on top of it. Through knowledge, your memory becomes bigger and bigger, but your intelligence gets smaller and smaller, and one day it disappears. Sometimes it happens when you do not know much, when you are not knowledgeable. That's in that moment your intelligence blossoms. I have heard a woman brought a tin of fruits but could not open the tin. She did not know how to open it. So what did she do? She rushed to her study to look into the cookbook. By the time she looked into the cookbook and found the page and the reference, and she came back ready to open the tin, the poor servant had already opened it. She asked the servant, "How did you open it?" You know what did the servant said? "Madam, when you cannot read, when you do not have knowledge, you have to use your mind." What a beautiful answer from a person who has never learned. Yes, that is how it happens. That is why farmers, gardeners, woodcutters, ordinary people are more intelligent, have a kind of freshness around them. They cannot read. My grandmother could write Hindi only like a child writing. They cannot read. So they have to use their intelligence. One has to live. One has to learn to use the mind. This is the third meaning of the word Buddha, to know, in the sense of understanding. Buddha has seen that which is. He understands that which is. And in that very understanding, he is free from the bondage. What does it mean? It means you are afraid. For example, these talks on Heart Sutra makes many people fearful. Someone wants to know why these sessions of Heart Sutra are continuing for so long. If you are afraid within, you will create an armor around you like a hard shell. So nobody comes to know that you are afraid. And that is not the only point. You also will not know that you are afraid because of this hard shell that you have created around you. It will protect you from others. It will protect you from your own understanding. An intelligent person does not escape from any fact. If it is fear, he goes into it because the way out is through. The way out is true. If he feels fear and trembling arises in him, he will leave everything aside. First his fear. He will say that the fear has to vanish. First this fear has to go through. If he goes into it, he will understand it. He will not try how to be afraid. He will not ask that question. He will simply ask one question: what is this fear? Is it there? Is it part of me? Is it reality? But I have to go through this. I have to understand its nature. If I do not understand it, then a part of me will remain unknown to me. And how am I going to know who I am? If I go on avoiding certain parts, and if I do not understand fear, I will not understand death. I will not understand anger. I will not understand hatred. I will not understand jealousy. I will not understand this and that. Then how are you going to know yourself if you do not know your anger? If you do not go through the caves of your anger, hatred, jealousy, all these things are you. This is your being. You have to go through everything that is there. every nook and corner. You have to explore your fear. Even if you are trembling, there is nothing to worry about. Tremble, but go through it. It is far better to tremble than to escape. Because once you escape, that part will remain unknown in you. You will become more and more afraid to look at it because that fear will go on accumulating. That jealousy will go on accumulating. But we are taught to avoid jealousy, hatred, anger. It will become bigger and bigger, and you will not be able to go through it this moment. Tomorrow, it will have lived. Your anger that you perpetuated, the hatred that you left unexplored, will become 24 hours old. Beware. It will get its root deep within you. It will be difficult. It will start having bigger foliage. It will become stronger, and then it will be most difficult for you to tackle it. It is better to go into it right now. It is already late, and if you go into it and you see, and seeing means without prejudice. Seeing means that you do not condemn anger, you do not condemn jealousy, you do not condemn hatred, but we are asked, we are taught to condemn these things from the very beginning. Who knows? It is not bad. Who knows that it is what it is? Only the explorer has to remain open to all the possibilities. It cannot afford to have a closed mind. A closed mind cannot explore anything. He will go into it. It will bring more suffering and pain. He will suffer the pain, but he will go into it. Trembling hesitantly, he will go into it. It is my territory. It is my doing. I have to know what it is. When I have left a room uncared, it has gathered cockroaches, lizards, it is dark. The very thought of going through that sends quivers in my bones, but it is my doing. For my understanding, I have to go through it. That is my territory. I have to know about it. Maybe it is carrying some treasures for me. Maybe the fear is the only there to protect that treasure. That is my experience, my understanding. If you go deep into your fear, it is in the womb of deep fear. It is in the depth of fear lies the seed of love. That is why it happens. When you are in love, fear disappears. And when you are afraid, you cannot be in love. What does it mean? It is a simple arithmetic. Fear and love does not exist together. That means it is the same energy that becomes fear, then there is nothing left to become love. If it becomes love, then there is nothing left to become fear in you. Go into fear. Hidden behind fear is love. Hidden behind anger is compassion. Hidden behind sex is awakening. Go into each negative thing and you will find, going through the cave of the negative, you will reach the other door where the positive exists. And knowing the negative, the positive, the third ultimately happens, the third side of the coin, the rim. Nobody notices the rim. They only know the head and tail. It is the rim that sustains the head and tail into togetherness. Go into the negative, you will find the positive. And the third happens, the transcendental. This is the meaning of understanding the intelligence. The fourth meaning is to be enlightened and to enlighten. Then Buddha is light. He has become the light. And since he is the light, he has become light. He shows the light to others as well. His illumination, his darkness has disappeared. The tree, the seed has burst open. The process of growth has happened. The dark energy has been accumulated in its womb. Smokeless is the flame of the lamp lit within. This meaning is opposite to the darkness and corresponding blindness and ignorance. This is the fourth meaning, to become light, to become intelligence. Only this much for this morning. Until we meet again. Continue through life's thoroughfare with intelligence, with your awakened intelligence. Take care and do have a pleasant day.